Hello everyone. In our today's video, we are going to start next chapter of basic electrical engineering, and that is AC circuits. AC circuit will be mainly divided in two parts. First one will be single phase AC circuits. Next one will be three phase AC circuits. Here, first of all, we are going to start with single phase AC circuits. So, these are the contents of single phase AC circuits. Here, we are going to start with representation of sinusoidal waveform, in which we will discuss generation of sinusoidal wave as well as the representation of that sinusoidal wave. Next, we will discuss various terms related to alternating quantities like peak values, average value, and many others. Next, we will discuss phasor representation of an alternating quantity. How to represent alternating quantity as a phasor. Next, we will discuss various terms like active power, reactive power, apparent power, and power factor. Next, we will discuss various AC circuits like purely resistive circuit, purely inductive circuit, purely capacitive circuit, various series and parallel circuit, and lastly, in the single phase AC circuit, we will discuss resonance condition for series and parallel circuits. So these are the contents of single phase AC circuits. Now let's start with the basic difference between DC and AC. Here we have two waveforms. One is of DC voltage and next one is of AC voltage. So first of all, what is DC? In our previous chapter, chapter number 1, DC circuits, we had already discussed what is DC. Here in our first diagram, we can observe that in DC, magnitude of that given voltage as well as its polarity is constant with reference to time. Whereas if we discuss what is AC, a parameter can be defined as a alternating whose magnitude as well as the polarity changes with time. Here in this diagram, which is of AC voltage, we can observe that the magnitude as well as its polarity is changing with respect to time, and that's why that is known as a alternating voltage. Here we have few other examples of alternating quantities, like we have four waveforms over here. First one is sinusoidal waveform, next one is a square or rectangular waveform, next is a triangle waveform, and complex waveform. In this all four waveforms, there is one common thing over here. In all four waveforms, magnitude as well as the polarity of these waveforms are changing with respect to time, and that's why they are known as alternating waveforms. Now in our next topic, we are going to discuss various advantages of AC system. Now let's start with the first one, and that is step up or step down can be possible using transformer. Now we know that in our AC system we generate electricity at various generating stations, which can be maybe 200, 300 or maybe 500 kilometer away from load centers. First of all, what is load center? Load center means place where we are using electricity. Means you can consider our cities. So generating station are far away from load center, and that's why we need to transmit electricity at long distance. And at that point, we need to step up the voltage. Similarly, when we receive electricity, again we need to step it down, and that can be easily done by transformer if we are using AC system. But let's say if we are using DC system, that is very difficult with compared to AC system, as we cannot use transformer in DC system. Now next, and that is high voltage transmission is possible. Again, first of all, why we need high voltage transmission? Because when we transmit electricity at long distance at high voltage, that is beneficial for us. Why? Because it will provide less losses, means highly efficient system. And as we discussed in our previous point, that can be easily achieved by transformers. Now, next one, and that is simple and robust construction of AC motors. First of all, why we are discussing motors over here? Because when we supply electricity to any loads, generally 70 to 80% power is consumed by various types of motors. So as we had installed AC system, we are going to use AC motors. Let's say if we had installed DC system, then we need to use DC motors. So if we compare AC motor and DC motor, then construction of AC motor is very simple as well as robust with compared to DC motor. So again, that is one of the major advantage of AC system. Now next one, and that is, let's say in some particular application, if we need DC, then there is no need to install a DC power plant separately. Instead of that, we can simply use rectifier and we can produce or convert DC out of AC, and that is very easy by using rectifiers. And next one is, it is possible to build up high voltage low cost AC generators. If we compare DC and AC generator, if we need to use or produce high voltage, then it is very easy to design as well as construct AC generator at a low cost with compared to DC generator. So this is again one of the advantage of our AC system. So basically these are the various reasons why we are using AC system over DC system. Now in our next topic, and that is one of the important topic of this chapter, and that is generation of alternating induced EMF. We know that any voltage AC or DC can be generated based on Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. And what is the statement of Faraday's law? Whenever flux linking with a conductor change, then EMF induced in it. So basically, to produce EMF in a conductor or a coil, we need to provide variable flux to a conductor or a coil. And based on this statement, we can say that to produce any voltage AC or DC, we need mainly two things over here. First one is a magnetic field, and that can be set up by setting up two magnetic poles as shown in this figure. Here we have two poles, N pole and S pole, and by that we had set up a magnetic field in between this medium, and that is here represented by these lines. Now next requirement is one conductor. Let's say if we just put this conductor into this magnetic field, but simply just putting this conductor into magnetic field, we cannot generate EMF. Why? Because we need to provide variable flux. So basically, what is our requirement over here? To provide a relative motion between magnetic field and this conductor. So let's say if here we are moving the conductor into this magnetic field to provide variable flux. So when this conductor will move through this magnetic field, so basically here we are providing variable flux to that conductor, and because of that, according to Faraday's law, EMF will be induced in this conductor. Now let's say if we are providing closed circuit to this conductor, in that condition, now we had produced a voltage into that conductor, and now if we had provided closed circuit to that conductor, current will be produced in that circuit, and this red color dots which are representing charges in that conductor is moving over here. That is a representation of current in that conductor. So this is the method how we can generate voltage in any circuit. Now let's discuss how we construct any generator. So when we observe any AC generator, basic structure of that generator is indicated by this figure, in which we have an N and S pole over here, and because of that we had produced a magnetic field over here, and instead of a single conductor we had arranged a coil into this magnetic field. And when we will move this coil or rotate this coil into this magnetic field, we will provide variable flux to that coil, and because of that EMF will be induced in this coil. And now we are going to find out the value of that induced EMF. And for that we are considering various parameters over here. First one that is given over here, that is N number of coils. More number of coils will be over here, more EMF will be produced over here. Next one is A, that is cross sectional area covered by this coil. And next one, that is omega angular velocity. As this coil is rotating, so that's why we are measuring its speed in form of radian per second, in form of angular velocity. And last one, that is phi m, that is the maximum flux which is linking with this coil. And based on this consideration, here we are going to find out the value of induced EMF. So again, in this next slide we have another diagram in which we had considered same construction over here in just another way. Here again we have a magnetic field, and in that magnetic field we had considered this blue colored conductor over here. Now let's say if this conductor is on this x dash axis perpendicular to the magnetic field lines, at that time all maximum flux will be linked with that conductor, and that can be defined by phi m. And let's say if this conductor is on y dash axis, at that time almost zero flux will be linked with that conductor. And if this conductor will be at some theta degree with respect to x dash axis, at that time how much flux will be linked with that conductor? That can be given by this equation, and that is phi is equal to phi m cos omega t. Here in this equation, omega t term that defines theta. From where we had defined it? We had already defined angular velocity omega, and that is theta by t. So based on that we can define theta is equal to omega t. Now based on this parameter, now up to now we had derived the value of flux which is linking with this conductor at various angle theta, and based on that value of flux we are going to derive the EMF equation. And EMF can be derived according to Faraday's second law, and mathematical form of that equation is E is equal to minus N dphi by dt. Here we know the what is N, that is number of coils, and dphi by dt, that is rate of change of flux. If we put the value of flux phi over here, and that is phi m cos omega t, then now we have a phi m cos omega t in derivative portion, and we know that phi m, that is a constant value. So we need to find out the derivation of cos omega t with respect to t, and that is going to be derivation of cos theta, that is minus sin theta. That's why we will have now minus sin omega t, but this is with respect to t, so omega will be in multiplication as a constant over here. So basically finally we have equation. Now minus and minus will be cancelled out, and that's why we will have n phi m omega into sin omega t. Now in this equation we have three constants, that is n, phi m and omega. So we can replace this three constant by one common constant, and let's say we are defining that is EM. So now we have a final equation of induced EMF, and that is small e is equal to EM sin omega t. So basically we got an equation which is sinusoidal in manner. Now let's say if we are using the various values of angle over here, then we get various values of magnitude of that alternating voltage. Let's say if you are putting theta is equal to 0, at that time we get sin 0 is equal to 0. So at that time value of the voltage is going to be 0 as shown in this figure, and at 90 degree sin 90, that is 1, and at that time we are going to get maximum value as shown in this figure over here. So basically, if you put the various value of theta over here, we will get various points or various magnitudes of that voltage as shown in this diagram, and that represents a sinusoidal waveform. So this is all for today's lecture. Thank you for watching this video. In our next video, we will start various terms related to AC circuits.